Kia ora, and welcome to Wednesday's Economy Watch, where we follow the economic events and trends that affect Aotearoa. I'm David Chaston, and this is the international edition from interest.co.nz. And today we lead with news. Financial markets are relatively calm, mainly because the Persian Gulf situation has slipped into a stalemate with no new developments, good or bad. But first up today, the overnight dairy auction brought little change in overall prices, but there was surprising variation between the commodities on offer. The net result was a tiny 0.1% gain in US dollars, 0.4% up in New Zealand dollars. But AMF rose 6.4% and skim milk powder rose 5.2%. Offsetting these was whole milk powder, which dropped 4%. These shifts are much larger than the derivatives market signalled. In fact, the AMF price is back to its late 2024 levels, and the skim milk powder price is now at its elevated October 2022 levels, and apart from those pandemic distortions, back to the unusual 2014 levels. The whole milk powder shift, which seems big, actually isn't when viewed from a slightly longer perspective. And there was good demand, mainly from precautionary buying, and from everywhere except from China. That deserves watching. In the US, the ADP weekly jobs report showed some weakness, with just a 9,000 gain nationally, far less than the expected gain and almost half what was recorded over the past 4 weeks. They say there is a noticeable slowing in hiring there. And business activity continued to decline significantly in the New York region's service sector in March, according to firms responding to the New York Fed's Business Leaders Survey. And US pending home sales picked up marginally in February from January, but are still 1.4% lower than year-ago levels. But there is wide variation here too, with the West, mainly California, rising notably, the South and the Midwest with minor gains, but the Northeast had notable declines. In Canada, their real estate markets did it tough in February, both from the economic uncertainty and the prolonged bad weather there. Elsewhere, and as expected, the Central Bank of Indonesia held its policy rate at 4.75%, where it's been since September 2025. In Germany, there's been a huge drop in confidence, as recorded by the ZEW Sentiment Index, all related to Trump's war in the Middle East and the downstream consequences for Europe. But perhaps somewhat surprisingly, though, the negative reading was very minor. And as expected, the Reserve Bank of Australia raised its policy rate late yesterday by 25 basis points to 4.1%. But what wasn't expected was how close the vote on the hike was. 5 members voted for the rise, but 4 wanted to hold. In the end, it was the growing risk of inflation that tipped the scale, made worse by the Middle East tensions and the consequences. All the major banks have now announced pass-through rises to their variable mortgage rates. Globally, it's also worth noting that the airline industry's forecasts show that air travel is expected to double by 2050. Obviously, that assumes the current geopolitical tensions subside. They see an outsized share of the expansion will come from China. The US Treasury 10-year yield is now just on 4.20%, down 3 basis points from yesterday at this time. And the price of gold will start today up $17 from yesterday at $5,001 an ounce. Silver is down $1 at $79.50 an ounce. And American oil prices are down 50 cents at just on $95 a barrel, while the international Brent price is still just on $102 a barrel. The Straits of Hormuz remain no-go areas for most, with the situation still extremely unstable. The ships transiting are those approved by Iran, which holds all the cards at present. And the Kiwi dollar has risen today, up 10 basis points against the US dollar from yesterday, now just on 58.6 US cents. Against the Aussie, we're down 40 basis points, though, at 82.5 Australian cents. We're up 10 basis points against the yen. Against the euro, we're down 10 basis points at 50.8 euro cents. That all means our trade-weighted index starts today little changed, at just on 62.2. And the Bitcoin price starts today at $74,160 and up 0.5% from this time yesterday. Volatility over the past 24 hours has been modest, at just on plus or minus 1.8%. You can get more news affecting the economy in New Zealand from interest.co.nz. Kia ora, I'm David Chaston, and we'll do this again tomorrow.